Yes, guys, I'm Si. Welcome to Cardiff City World. This is your Iceland versus Wales preview. A quick short live, 25 minutes or so, before I jump on with Rhodri over at AcePodcastnation to talk all things football. But hopefully you checked out our new Welsh podcast yesterday, the Cymru and Byrdd podcast with myself and Harry Trades. It was a lot of fun. And that'll only grow from strength to strength. Obviously, it was the first episode yesterday. But just before we kind of get into the nitty-gritty of tomorrow's game, I wanted to talk a little bit about the under-21s. Obviously, on the brink, or certainly close to achieving history and qualification, something which is incredibly special for those young players, and something, you know, which Matty Jones and everyone else working with the 21s is massive to what they're doing. So before we kind of go into that, I wanted to just discuss the 21s a little bit. There's a few different permutations. Martin Price, who does the Premier Bluebirds group over on Facebook, has started a new group which is called Bluebirds Development. I urge you to go and to join that group. It's basically focused on Cardiff's development teams, but also on the underage teams of Wales and Cardiff City. Martin's very, very knowledgeable on all those things, and it's really interesting to see and kind of look at the content which he's going to put out on there. And he keeps me in the loop with the 21s because I don't get to watch as many as I would like. So it's always good. But there's a few different permutations with the way it is. Although we are currently the second best of all the second place teams with the 21s, our potential 17-point haul can still be overtaken by England, France, and Poland, especially as the latter two have got 2 games left to play, as opposed to England and Wales, who have just got the one. So basically, we would need to win and hope to God that France or Poland drop some points in either of their games. Hopefully that makes a bit of sense. But as we stand, those Welsh under-21s are in a real good position, and hopefully they can see it over the line. And they've got a fantastic squad. I actually think, if Owen Beck is not going to get any game time Monday, then would it be worth him going down to the 21s? I'm sure it's a conversation which the Welsh FA and the Welsh management have all discussed, because they want to make sure that that they get it over the line as best they can, or certainly do their bit, and then obviously hopefully any results that they need go their way. But it's just super exciting to watch that next generation, because there's some real, just like Cardiff, but obviously the Welsh 21s are even, there's even more players in there from different clubs. It's very, very exciting time for Welsh football fans. As excited as I am about the youth coming through at Cardiff, there's also a lot of players in that Welsh under-21 side, which is, it looks like it's going to be a special future for us. But fingers crossed. But moving on to the first team, I mean, the main question is can Craig Bellamy build on his impressive start in those opening 2 games? And look, it wasn't just that we took 4 points from Montenegro and from Turkey. It's the nature that we did it, particularly that Turkey game. It was so impressive the way Wales pressed and created overloads, and just the way that Craig Bellamy set his stall out from the very first minute, that how his teams were going to play. And I thought he was really clever tactically in the away game at Montenegro, where he changed it up and he didn't stick with the same 11. And I'm a big proponent of that, is that, certain games, certain situations, you do need to be tactically flexible. The same thing won't always work. Now, one of the things that myself and Harry discussed yesterday is, when we play Turkey in the second game, they'll be much more switched on to what to expect from this Welsh side. Same with even Iceland tomorrow. We won't be as much of a surprise package, although it'll be interesting to see whether we can, or whether Craig Bellamy comes up with a different tactical plan. I think, we'll talk about my predicted lineup and what I think he'll do a bit later. But as is tradition, if you haven't seen the kind of preview shows before, because they are a bit shorter, we focus on the opponents first and foremost. So look, Iceland, they're a very organised team. Alfie Harley's side, they're inconsistent, especially this year. They've kind of gone victory, defeat, and so on across their last 6 games. They don't score a lot of goals, and they've actually conceded 10 across the last 6. They're ranked 71st in the world, but they will fancy that second place in this league. So, they're not to be taken too lightly, as much as I do think we should have enough. We all remember that Iceland game versus England. I think it's a very different Iceland team. It's quite an aging Iceland team at this moment in time. They've won one, lost one. As I say, their form's a bit all over the place. They've got some real experienced players. You've got the Gylfi Sigurdsson is obviously 35 years old, been around the block. And then they've got some others, they have got some decent players there. I quite like Ori Oriksson, as well as Andre Gudjonsson, could play up front. Then you've got some others who, Championship fans and League One fans or EFL fans will be more familiar with. You've got that Birmingham duo of Samsted and Tor Williamson, who might be in contention to start. They've got the experienced Johan Berg Gudmundsson, who's made over 95 caps. He'll be leading as the captain from the midfield. They've got an experienced team who have been around the block, and they know how to set up, and they know how to play. So it'll be interesting how Wales look to conquer that, because Wales have a pretty young side with a bit of experience mixed in, and certainly got a young, progressive thinking manager tactically. But yeah, I think Iceland's lineup will be something like this, but I don't, it's difficult. I'm not as familiar with their team, I'm going to be honest, but from what I've looked at over the last few games, I think they'll play with Valdemarson in goal, Samsted, Hermansson, Ingerson, Finneson as that sort of back five, Anderson, Gudmundsson, and Thordarson, with Thorsteinsson, Sigurds, and O'Carson, with Sigurdsson sort of just in the pocket behind. Ultimately, for me, I think if Wales play with the same pace and they play with the same pressing principles, that will be very difficult to stop, because I think we've got pace in the right areas, depending obviously on the lineup which Craig Bellamy picks, which we'll discuss in just a minute. Obviously, Joe Allen's come back into the team, back into the squad at least. A few people surprised, but I'm not really, because with Ethan Ampadu out, even though he's obviously very young, Ethan Ampadu, he's super experienced. So I think that it makes sense to have that holder, or that someone who can just sit. Now, I know me and Harry actually slightly disagreed yesterday, that he doesn't think Joe Allen starts. He thinks he'll probably come on, maybe starts at home. I actually think if he starts one of the games, it's most likely to be the away game for that bit of experience away from home. But yeah, it's an interesting one. I think away from home, I think Wales will go with Carl Darlow. It's interesting again with that. Like, we had a real good discussion about the keepers. Danny Ward's footwork in that home game against Turkey was exquisite, and he was a real asset into how we played out from the back. And then Carl Darlow's shot stopping in the away game against Montenegro in awful conditions was pretty exceptional as well. So I think there was he kept us in the game in many ways. So look, I think it's real interesting how where Bellamy lines up, and I do wonder whether he'll have a bit of something different up his sleeve. But for me, I think we just see like Ben Davis and left back. I think we'll see Connor Roberts at right back. I think we'll see a back two of probably Roden and Meepham, assuming everybody's fit. And then I think we'll see Joe Allen as the holder, and he'll just sit and kind of dictate play. Obviously has a different kind of skill set to, he hasn't got the legs, the energy, but I do think that, he has the ability. He's been all right for Swansea this year, and I think his experience will be big part of how we go. I think we'll see Nico Williams line up as like a right midfielder again, right winger, right midfield, whatever you want to call it, just to give Connor Roberts that bit of protection. But Nico Williams is very good off that left-hand side as well. And then the left-hand side is an interesting one. It's a real interesting one. I think we see Sorba Thomas, and I think he deserves that from his performances. He's been in good form for Nice out in France. So why wouldn't you carry that on? I think he looked really, really, really good. But then some other options, you could see Jordan James play as a 6. You could see Ollie Cooper come in there. Wouldn't even be surprised to see I forgot his name. Sheenan in there as well, if he wants that bit of energy. But I think we'll see the experience of Joe Allen there. And then actually going forward, I've said Sorba Thomas, but actually I've talked myself out of that a little bit, because for me, Brennan Johnson absolutely has to play 100%. But I think Kiefer Moore also away from home plays too. So I'm actually going to take Sorba Thomas out and put him on the bench. And I think we'll see Brennan Johnson. See, and this is where I'm talking myself out as we're talking. So it'll be we got options, which is a nice, fresh difference for Wales. If I was picking the side, I would actually go with Nico Williams at right back instead of Connor Roberts, and then I would go with Sorba Thomas on the left, Brennan Johnson on the right, and Harry Wilson in the 10. So I'm going to go with what I would go, because as I said before, I do think that I've just got a little feeling that Craig Bellamy might come up with a little plan himself tactically to kind of, just his own thing. But I'll bring up what I think the team's going to be, which, is always wrong what I think is going to be anyway, because it's, it's managers and coaches, isn't it? But let me know in the comments, like, what would your starting 11 be for this Welsh side tomorrow against Iceland specifically? So obviously we might see a different side at home to Montenegro, without a shadow of a doubt. I think that's going to be a whole different game. So let me just bring it up on the screen. Hopefully it works first time. Let's have a look. It's going to work. See if we can make it a bit bigger. So yeah, I think Wales line up with Carl Darlow in goal. I think we'll see Nico Williams at the right back, Joe Roden, Meepham, Ben Davis left back, and then I think you'll have Joe Allen as the holder with Jordan James as the legs, and then you'll have Sorba Thomas, Brennan Johnson, and Harry Wilson off Kiefer Moore. And I think what you'll see out of possession is Sorba Thomas will drop in there. Harry Wilson will either drop to the right or I think Harry Wilson will be the one who drops to the right, and I think then Brennan Johnson will sort of drop in behind Kiefer Moore like that, because I think you don't want Brennan Johnson doing the defensive work. Harry Wilson will have a bit of a free role. But yeah, what I was saying is, initially I was like, well, Sorba Thomas is going to play left. Harry Wilson's definitely going to be in the 10. I think Joe Allen plays, and I kind of wouldn't be surprised to see Nico Williams as your right winger, which then means if you've got Connor Roberts there, there's no place for Brennan Johnson, and I just can't see a Wales 11 without Brennan Johnson. The form he is in, you can't not have him. So do you then put Johnson up front instead of Kiefer Moore? That's, we lack a bit. We haven't got the biggest of teams, and defending set pieces against Iceland is going to be massive. So for me, I think Kiefer Moore has to be in there, but I also think Brennan Johnson's got to be in there. So does that mean Brennan Johnson goes off the left-hand side and Sorba Thomas is the one to drop? Does he change the system? Will we see like an Ollie Cooper there? even with some injuries and some players out, Wales have option, which is, it's refreshing. Now, I'm not saying they're all, world-class players, but I think they're good players and they're all capable of doing a job. Against Montenegro, I think the team will be a lot different. I think we'll see a more attacking team. And I haven't even mentioned, David Brooks, Broadhead, Wes Burns, who've been brought in, Norrington Davis as well. I wouldn't be shocked to see him start. I think he gives something much different to a lot of the kind of other players in the same position. And I think Rhys Norrington Davis is a really good player, and he adds pace. I'm not sure how much he's played this year is the only thing. I'm going to try and look that up now. But yeah, I wouldn't be, he's been brought back in. He's 25. He's a really, 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 in my opinion, good player. And I think he just gives something a bit different to the side. Now, could you see him come in? You certainly could. And we haven't even mentioned Lewis Kumas, people like that. Lewis got his debut in the away game in the last international break. So, would we see Ben Davies move into the centre of defence, and then a Rhys Norrington Davis play at left back? Stranger things have happened with that, because I do think Rhys Norrington Davis offers that bit of extra pace, and I actually think Ben Davies is a really good centre back. I prefer him at this stage of his career at centre back, but he's perfectly capable of playing on that in the left back role. So just looks like Rhys Norrington Davis has made 5 appearances so far this season, which is decent. So he's back in, he's back in form. He said he was surprised by the call-up, but I mean, he's been playing and been doing all right. And he's versatile as well. He can play centre-back. He can play a bit further forward as well. So, as I say, Wales have options. So that's what's refreshing. In terms of how I think Iceland could get at Wales, I think one of the biggest aspects or the biggest ways that they may trouble Wales is set pieces, because as I mentioned just now, we're not the biggest of teams, and I think that then we've got to make sure we defend those set pieces properly. We've got to make sure, Ben Davies and co will have to make sure that they're super organised and defend. We defended really well against Montenegro and Turkey last international break. Bit unfortunate with the goal that they conceded. But I think when you look at it, that's why I think one of the not the only reason, of course, Keeper Moore just scored a goal, did well. That's why I think he starts away from home. But he also does give that extra height for the defensive side. I don't see a lot in the Iceland team on paper where I'm like, oh, they could trouble us. There's one or two, Gudmundsson, and Sigurdsson on his day is a very creative and clever player. But he's also, he's 35. For me, like Jordan James and whoever plays alongside him, they're real good players defensively and offensively. So for me, I think if Wales play to the same level that they did in the first 2 games under Craig Bellamy, I find it difficult to imagine that we don't cause Iceland quite a lot of problems. That's not to say that it's going to be easy by any stretch of the imagination, but Brennan Johnson is on absolute fire. He scored 6 in 6. He's absolutely brimming with confidence, and whether he plays wide or through the middle, I'd expect him to be very dangerous and not someone who the Icelandic defence are going to look forward to or relish marking. He's so quick, and his finishing has been an absolute delight recently. So yeah, I think my man to watch from the Iceland point of view is Gudmundsson, Andre Gudjohnsen. Sorry, so sorry, I can't pronounce these names. Gudmundsson, not Gudjohnsen, is a really clever player and someone who we will need to keep an eye on. And he could potentially cause us some issues. And then Andre Goodjohnson, I think he'll probably play off the bench, but he's got a bit of an eye for a goal and he can create. So it's important that everyone takes responsibility and does their jobs. And then it's just a case of, can Wales defend correctly and get the job done, get the goals, the all important goals. Johan Berg Goodmanson is he's a real clever player, but with the greatest of respect, he's playing in the Saudi Pro League. I don't think you can say that's not the best league in the world, but he is a capable player. He used to play for Hamburg, Charlton, sorry, not Hamburg, AZ, Charlton, Burnley, made over 200 appearances for Burnley. He's just a very clever player, which I quite like him. So I think Wales will need to keep an eye on him. In terms of who could be the key player for Wales, I'm going to go with Jordan James. I just think his aggression, his energy, but also his ability on the ball. I think he's really underrated. His passing ability. He's a real traditional box-to-box midfielder when you give him that freedom. But he's a good at winning the ball back, reading the game, interceptions, winning that ball back and then using it. Sometimes it might be a ball behind the fullback to the winger, or it might just be a simple ball 3 yards to the side or forward to Harry Wilson. And let's not forget Harry Wilson, by the way, was absolutely fantastic for Wales in the last couple of games. Scored a banger as well, in banging form for Fulham, and someone who I definitely look forward to growing in a Wales shirt, because he's one of the more experienced players now. He's been playing for Wales since he was 16. He's 27 now. He's been playing for Wales for 10 years. So even though he's not old, he's one of our most experienced players. He's also banging form for Fulham. Scores goals, creative, picks up those pockets of space real nice, and versatile. Plays in the 10, but can play left, can play right, can link up well, and those little triangles and 1-2s, and those rotations are really important as well. If we say, for instance, we did go with Brennan Johnson as the centre forward, when you've got a slightly smaller striker in physique, those rotations become really important, and those link ups and the movement is really important. So yeah, Harry Wilson is a big one, but obviously Brennan Johnson, bang in form, and you fancy him to get a goal. My prediction for the game is 2-0. I think I can't remember what I said yesterday. I think 2-0 Wales. I do fancy us to keep a clean sheet if we can defend those set pieces properly, and I don't foresee Brennan Johnson not scoring. I've got to be honest. The form he's in, the pace away from home, the players he's got around him, I think that there's a good chance that Brennan Johnson scores, which I know is not like groundbreaking analysis, is it? And then finally, I kind of wanted to round off this preview with something which is not Wales or indeed Iceland related. And I just wanted to say rest in peace to George Baldock. Such a sad turn of events. Obviously, has played a lot of VFL football. Passed away over the last couple of days out in Greece. Just 31 years old is heartbreaking to see for someone so young. Obviously, his brother Sam still plays, and our condolences go out to all of George's friends, family, Sam, and of course all the former teammates, and everything, and everyone who knows him, and yeah, it's sad to see that, and it's a real upsetting story, to be honest. But I wanted to make mention of it, and just pay tribute and wish their family and friends the best, and condolences from everyone at the channel, everyone at Ace Podcast Nation, and I guess Welsh fans everywhere. Guys, it's been an absolute pleasure. These previews are always a bit quick. I'll be dropping a video tomorrow on Ruben Colwell, And then obviously Saturday we'll have the 1927 club, and then Sunday night we'll have the breakdown as well. It's looking forward to the Wales-Montenegro game. Thank you so much to everyone who's tuned in and watched and downloaded ever. You can always download every show we do, every video we put out is available as an audio podcast through the Cardiff City World on Sports Social Podcast Network, Apple and Spotify and all the rest of the things. Just search Cardiff City World and you'll find it on your podcast platforms, and listen to them back. And that includes everything, the history of Cardiff City, the slightly shorter videos, the 10-minute ones, they're all on there. The only ones that don't go up are the watch-alongs, which we don't do all the time, and the vlogs. Everything else goes up there, no matter how long or short they are. But yeah, appreciate you all. Let me know what you think the score is going to be in this Iceland game. Also, let me know what you think the starting lineup is going to be. And we'll be back with another video tomorrow, which is Cardiff related. I'll drop that in the afternoon before the game. And then, of course, 1927 club on the Saturday night. And then we'll have the breakdown Sunday, which will be talking about Wales-Iceland, among other things. Thank you for your time. See you in a bit. Hopefully, Craig Bellamy can bring us another 3 points tomorrow.